Well, hello, and welcome to a little supplement episode of our backyard garden here in the South Carolina upstate. It's April 20th, 2024. We did one of our backyard videos about a day and a half ago, and as I was looking out this morning, there's a lot of new stuff that has come out, and things go so quickly at this time of year that I thought I would do an extra little video this week. This is the time of year when things change quickly enough that it's worthwhile doing another video. Some of these irises that we're seeing right in front of us have come out fully in bloom. It also helps that it's mid-morning. This is a really good time of day for a video like this. We're not going to get a lot of shadows. The color will really be good. When we did the video Thursday evening, it wasn't dark yet, but it was starting to head towards twilight, and I don't think the colors came out quite as vibrant as they could have. So we're going to just make a quick pass through the backyard here. As always, we start with our irises on the side of the house. Bearded iris, we have a couple different types. The purple and white ones are the most common, and then we have some of these more pale purple ones, and same mix over here, and more of them have come out since the other day. And then as we come down here, our yellow knockout rose is in bloom. Now, one thing that I notice, when these blooms first come out, they're nice bright yellow, but then they get bleached by the sun very quickly. So if I do the video late in the day, the flowers all look white, but if I do it in the morning, we see more of the yellow ones that have just opened up today, and we have quite a few of those. This has been a really successful plant. Even though it got chewed on by deer over the winter, it has come back beautifully. No black spot, tons of flowers. You don't see as many yellow knockout roses. You tend to see more red, sometimes white, but yellow ones are really a really nice alternative. Here we have a cat plant. Actually, that's our cat Leo. We let him out today because we're cleaning our porch. So fun for all three cats, actually. Orion, Leo, and Furball. They all got to go out. Now here we have some Asiatic lilies. My wife Jenny was on our video Thursday night and was talking about these. They're doing extremely well. We're spraying them regularly for deer and rabbits, and nothing's been chewed on, thank goodness. And then even just in the last 36 hours, a lot more of these digitalis flowers have come out. This is a particularly nice cluster here, and it's got little satellite plants that are growing up along its base. More typical one here, this is going to be a little more of a pink color when it comes out. We've got our big hydrangeas here. They're getting ready to bloom probably in about maybe 2 months. They're kind of a midsummer plant. Back in there, speaking of furball, there he is prowling around behind everything else. And I'm a cat guy, so as far as I'm concerned, a garden isn't complete unless you have a cat running around in it. And in fact, actually, we have all three of them. They're all having a good time this morning. They don't get to go out like this very often. We've got our alternate viburnum, kind of a shrub arbusto type. It's going to give us some little white flowers eventually, and then some little berries that the birds eat up. We've got our Giacomini clematis here, our little petite knockout rose with clematis growing all over it, and the clematis is growing up into this huge hydrangea. Now, I don't know why this hydrangea is so much bigger than the others. We have 4 of them total, and this is by far the biggest one. It's not the tallest one, but it really spreads out, and that's kind of interesting to see. So it should be fun once the blooms open up in midsummer. Got a butterfly bush here. This will give us some bright purple flowers in the summer. Got a nice shrub rose here. This grew, we've just had this in for a year or two. Really stayed pretty low to the ground. This year it's decided to move upward. It's got a lot more flowers on it than it has in the past, which is nice. We've got some clematis back here. Even though they're in the shade, they are going to give us some nice color. Looks like we had one over here that was on the fence. As I look at it, looks like it's kind of taken off inside the hydrangea for whatever reason. It left the fence. But we have two clematis here on this fence that kind of joined up. It's hard to tell where one stops and the other one starts. We have a lilac here. This bloomed a few weeks ago. A couple little tiny flowers left, but not much. Allegedly, when we bought it, it was supposed to bloom again in the fall, summer and fall, but so far we have not run into that. Here we have just an ideal combination. This is almost a textbook appearance of roses and clematis growing together. We've bright red, and I do mean bright, almost neon red roses, tons of them all over this plant, and then this really spectacular clematis, a very complex flower, much more than the usual ones. It looks like a dahlia more than a clematis, and there are a lot of buds. So that combination of white and red is really neat, and especially when you look at that next to the irises, the azaleas, and the viburnum down here. It's just a beautiful area, and I'm trying to enjoy it as much as possible. That's why I'm doing this extra video today, because this will not last for long. The azaleas will be done in a couple weeks. The viburnum will probably be done in a couple weeks. Fortunately, the knockout rose will go all year. The clematis will come and go. Irises will be done. And coming down here, we have more of our little Johnny jump ups, the little miniature pansies, all in bloom. We had several of those higher up. I've said this before, we had a lot of trouble with deer and rabbits over the winter, and since I've been spraying, they've been doing much better and giving us a lot of flowers. Now, just since the other day, these two digitalis have really come out in to a larger extent, doing really, really well. We've got daylilies all over the place back in here. Another azalea, the viburnum, doing just wonderfully. Probably get another week of full bloom, and then this will kind of dwindle off as April ends. But again, we're trying to just really enjoy it as much as possible. Some more daylilies, a stilbe coming up. Not ready to flower quite yet, but they will as we get into early summer. And our lamb's ear, our little ground cover plant, more stilbe here. These are getting closer to blooming, and there's one down here that's actually getting very close to blooming with a red color. So a lot going on. This is our shade corner of the yard. As I've said before, we have birch trees, we have pine tree, big oak, a maple, and then all those evergreens back there that really protect this area for plants like hostas and astilbe, azaleas, viburnum, things that do much better with a bit of shade. Over here we have a couple more azaleas. I always like pointing out this wisteria, even more in bloom than it was the other day. One of its blooms pretty big here. It's about 4 or 5 inches long. And then as you look across here, you really start to see some of the other things, and we're going to look at these from a different angle later on. Clematis, climbing roses, and another wisteria way over at the far end, but we'll get over there in a couple of minutes. Down here, this is mostly daylilies, orange daylilies, traditional ones, and a few scattered black-eyed Susans that'll bloom late in the summer, and then some iris, which are going to bloom, are actually already starting to bloom down in this area, and we'll get little more of that later. The irises here are a little bit later in the season because they don't get quite as much sun, so that tends to slow down their progress. Cats again having all kinds of fun here in the morning. They don't necessarily recognize each other when they're out of the house, so they're very cautious, sniffing and trying to make sure they're not in enemy territory. And then as we move our way through here, we've got more daylilies, irises, and climbing roses. I think I mentioned, I don't remember if I mentioned or not, this rose right here. This is worth talking about, and I'll probably talk about this every week for a while. This is one that I've always enjoyed as much as any in the garden, because when the flowers are budding like this, you see yellow and pink, and then when they come out, it's a very pale yellow and pink, and then it fades to white. And it was pretty prolific. It put out a lot of flowers over the last couple of years, and it looks like it's going to again. But it got eaten down to the ground by deer, and we weren't sure if it was going to come back or not, and obviously it is. It's a smaller plant than it was last year, but it looks like it's growing to make up the difference. So that's a real success story. I'm very happy with that, a happy ending. Back here again, more clematis, different colors. We have Nellie Moser, the pink ones back there, and then the pale purple ones. I don't know the name on those, but behind that we have our climbing roses. We have a total of 4 of these. I don't know the name, but it's a very very unique climbing rose that puts out hundreds of buds at any one time. These little tiny pink rose flowers. You're going to see those several other places in the garden. And then as we continue along here, we've got more clematis back in here. From about this point on over, we've got a great mix of clematis and climbing roses and jasmine. Now, jasmine is just a vine. It's there's not a lot to say about it other than it does put out some little white flowers, and you can see the buds here. Those will start to bloom probably in another I'd say 2-3 weeks maybe. It has a very pleasant smell. They're not real strong, but enough that it really makes you feel like you're in the South, because that's where they tend to do the best. Got some more Asiatic lilies here doing well. These are going to give us some beautiful color in another probably another month, maybe even a little bit sooner if we're lucky. Daisies down in here, a few more irises. This knockout rose, Jenny and I were talking about this the other night. It's a blood red color. It's a little different than the typical knockout rose. It's really the only one that we have that's this particular color, and it's the only one that's this big. Last year when it was fully in bloom, it was about 7 feet tall, and the deer ate about half of it over the winter. Having said that, it doesn't matter, because all of this is new growth, and it's taken this whole area back. There was a big empty spot here about 2 months ago, and this has all grown very quickly to take its place, and just covered with buds, probably at least as many, if not more, than we had last year at this time. And down through here, more clematis. In person, it's actually a little more impressive than it is on video. The concentration of flowers, and then you get the mix of red and blue, and then the little pink climbing roses, and kind of lost in all of that, we have a different climbing rose that's more of a lilac color. Hard to see back in there. You can kind of see one of them. There are, by my count, I think 3 that are in bloom right now. They're not fragrant, but they're very, very pretty, and they're doing very well. We've got a camellia here. This bloomed in the late winter. It's all done now. It's just greenery. But the thing that has been the most exciting for me, big daisy here, is the fact that this year, finally, after several years of doing this, we put in the trellis in, I think it was 2020, and we bought all these climbing roses, and finally this year we've got roses on the right side climbing up and meeting the ones on the left side, the more traditional red ones. Those have been up there for a couple of years, but now we've got roses all the way across. And when you step back, and it's probably going to be a little easier to see from this angle because we're not looking into the sun, but you can kind of see how they are growing together. It's just really the ideal kind of traditional look that you want from a trellis. Now while we're down here, I'll show a couple other things. Again, you can see clematis, knockout roses, more clematis, more climbing roses, wisteria, irises, more daylilies that will bloom in another couple of months. One other thing down here that we missed the other night, these little Siberian irises are out now. Kind of a fragile little plant, yellow in color. They don't bloom for long, but they're very pretty, and they really give us a nice alternative. We don't have a lot of yellow in this area, so it mixes nicely, kind of, you know, it gives you another one of the primary colors along with the blues and the reds. And then as we look along here, more clematis, a few red roses. This is another climber that has stuck to the fence. It's actually, I think, a division of the ones up on the trellis. And then this big pink climber. So this is the third one. This is where it is the strongest, and it's like all the others, it is just covered with little tiny buds right now. So this thing is going to be just a wash, as they say, with color. So we have the one there, we have the one that's up on the trellis, and then we have the one over there, and another one that's up against the house that we'll see towards the end. Over here, a big clematis that's growing from the fence up into our weeping cherry tree. I kind of like the look. It's not a terribly aggressive vine, the clematis, so you can keep those under control pretty well. Now, having said that, the wisteria are very aggressive, and they will take over everything in their path like a bulldozer. And if you look up into that tree, you can see wisteria blooms, you know, well up into the tree. So when they're done blooming, I'm going to have to cut those back because I don't want them taking over the tree. It's a nice tree. It was kind of expensive, so I want to keep it as healthy as possible. But for now, these wisteria are doing absolutely wonderfully. This is a real sign of the South. We tried growing these in Ohio, and it really did not work. They don't like the really cold winters that we get up there. You know, we can get the occasional frost or even down into the teens around here, and they'll handle that okay. But anything beyond that and the heavy snow and so on, they don't like. Having said that, I'm going to just kind of show off our neighbors' beautiful hybrid tea yellow roses. They have several of them along here. They're absolutely beautiful. They bloom nicely every spring. They've got a hydrangea that's going to bloom soon, and then one of our local geese from the pond. This is probably the male. Female is on a nest somewhere back in the weeds. I've seen them waddling around in the yard over the last few days, so they've got some eggs somewhere. And we're going to have goslings soon, just like we have ducklings every spring. Here we have a little different type of pink clematis on this section of the fence. We've got one over here. This is the white one we looked at earlier. A little different view of it. And this one has not come out yet, but it will soon. Interestingly, the vine from the wisteria, even though it's about 15 feet to the left of us, the vine running along the ground is putting out little plants over here, and the vine actually extends all the way over here, about 20 feet away. So again, you have to be really careful with these. They can take over a yard very quickly if you let them. Now this is an area that we don't have a lot else going on other than the clematis and some irises, so I'm not too concerned about that. But if we had a lot of other, especially non-native species, I would have to be more aggressive at controlling them and cutting them back. So we got clematis here along this fence, doing very well. Same thing here. It's nice to see these doing so well because we've had trouble growing other things. One of the only things that did well up here were roses, and deer ate these down to the ground, and they have not come back at all. We had 3 roses in this area, knockouts, one red, one white, and one sort of a peach color, and they're all gone now. But this is doing well. And then we have a small wisteria here. Don't know what it's going to do this year. It may not bloom, but at least it survived. I put this in last year, and it looked like it was dying off, but it's actually surviving, so I'm real happy with that. We have our little tea olive here. Had a few little tiny flowers on it. You can just barely see. It's not an impressive plant, unfortunately. It just kind of exists, and it gives you a little bit of a barrier. They've grown very slowly over the last 5 years since we put them in. But they're basically just a bush. Not much more to say about them. Some more beautiful bearded iris back here against the house. And then, speaking of beautiful, we've got these roses wide open. Plenty more where those came from. And this is kind of what I call my project clematis. I put it back here by the water pipe, hoping it would grow up on the fence, and the last couple of years it really hasn't. It's struggled, but it's still alive, and it's putting out some flowers right now, so I'm trying my best to train it up onto the fence. It tends to keep falling down, but I'm gonna keep working on it and see what happens. Another gorgeous knockout yellow rose here. Again, like I said, you know, the new blooms, bright yellow, then they fade out as they get bleached by the sun. And then we have another hybrid tea. The big problem with hybrid teas, they put out gorgeous roses like these, but they get black spot very quickly. And so they'll lose all their leaves, and then if you chop them back, they'll come back several times through the year. Another one here, absolutely gorgeous, and very pleasant scent to them as well. Some Asiatic lilies here, a calla lily here, clematis growing up the post, and another clematis here, giving us a couple different types of flowers, the dark pink and the light pink, growing through a lilac which did not bloom at all this year. And then the lilac that did bloom still has a couple flowers on it left. Had a pleasant smell, but nothing dramatic. And then daylilies down in this area, and one digitalis that just kind of came up on its own right in the middle of that daylily. And then we've got more of these hybrid teas with some really beautiful blooms on them. Big blooms. I mean, these are a good 4 inches across. And as I say, they're very fragrant, very pleasant, perfumey smell. Not the traditional rose smell. It's just more of a hybrid sort of scent. More daylilies through here, Asiatic lilies. This huge climbing rose. More of this has come out since 2 days ago. Just giving these beautiful, sort of, I don't know, delicate little flowers by the hundreds. And then more Asiatic lilies here are Coreopsis. I haven't talked a lot about this because it's not usually in bloom for terribly long, although it does tend to come back if you deadhead it. So they're a little bit more, I'm going to say high maintenance, but again, if you put your effort into it, it's worthwhile. Got our little blueberry here. It's going to give us our usual half-dozen berries by the end of the season. Birds will probably get them before we do. And our hosta's back in here. Probably before too much longer, maybe into May or June, we'll start to get tomatoes coming back from seed. We bought 2 or 3 tomato plants back, I'm going to say 2 years ago. And they went crazy. They loved it down here. And then there were so many tomatoes, we couldn't eat them all. So it just went to seed. And then we ended up with probably 100 tomato plants all over this area, growing up amongst all the climbing roses. So by midsummer, we were just awash with tomato fruits. And then with that, we're kind of back to the top. So like I say, I thought it was worth doing this. I said it was going to be a quick video. It's actually another 25-minute opus, but Daisy here. Just thought with all the changes happening so rapidly, it was worth showing this off. I know we have kind of a, I won't say a devoted following. We get about 100 views a week off of these, sometimes a little bit more. Last week we got 300 views total between our front and backyards. Our little snapdragon here that's growing out of the driveway. Just thought I'd show that off too. Not a lot of changes in the front yard garden this time, so I'm not going to do another video on that until next weekend unless something dramatic changes. Oh, you know what? I was just about to finish up and I realized I had missed one area. I'm going to show it off real quickly here. So usually I follow the same path. I did things a little differently this time, but I missed a couple of key areas. This rose right here, we showed this off the other night. This is an interesting rose. It's another hybrid tea. Always struggles with black spot, but it comes back, and over again it'll put out a lot of these beautiful flowers. The flowers are bigger this year than they have been in the past. I'm not sure why, but the plant itself is very healthy, even though it gets covered with black spot. And it seems, at least our luck has been, it doesn't matter how much you spray for fungus, you still have the black spot problem. It doesn't seem to matter. Lots of clematis back in here. And then this rose is definitely worth extending this video for a couple minutes because it's a unique color. You don't see this on roses a lot. Kind of a peach color, a pinkish peach. This particular plant is covered with them. It tends to struggle with black spot later in the year, but right now it's just doing wonderfully. Very happy with that. We don't remember, my wife and I have both forgotten what the name of this little wildflower is, but it's pretty as well. But we're very happy with that. And then this one's more of a coral color. This is a traditional hybrid tea. Lots of black spot issues already, as is this one. This is a yellow rose. This one's probably going to end up losing all of its leaves, and we'll have to chop it back and start over again. Some dianthus down in here. Veronica growing up in this area. It looks like it's spreading. These are all new plants that have come since last year, and they should give us a lot of purple flowers once they get going. Through here, the clematis and the red climbing roses are really a sight to behold as they go from the fence up into the trellis. More of the climbers, little pink climbers over there. Camellia here. Butterfly bush here. And those will, well, the butterfly bush will bloom later in the summer. And that's about it. So, false alarm before, but now we're done. So stay tuned. If there are major changes, I might do another video later in the week. Otherwise, it'll probably be next weekend. That's when I usually do them. Thought I would get out today though, because the weather is so nice. It's going to be close to 80 degrees. It's just kind of a partly cloudy day, but very, very pleasant. No rain in sight. And so hope it's sunny wherever you are. And until next time, happy gardening.